Picture this. Agnes is flipping pancakes in a kitchen 2 weeks from eviction, pouring every ounce of hope into a marriage hanging by a thread. 3 years of love, sweat, and sacrifice, all riding on her husband Jerry's big break. She kisses him goodbye, dreaming of a better life, totally blind to the bomb he's about to drop. Days later, she finds him, dressed to kill, dripping in cash, with a stunning new woman on his arm. His words? "You're not enough." He dumps her cold, right there in a glitzy hotel lobby. But here's the kicker. What if the woman he trashed turns the tables in a way he never saw coming? A jaw-dropping transformation, a revenge you won't predict, and a twist that'll leave you screaming, "No way!" Stick around for a story of betrayal, grit, and a comeback that'll blow your mind. Hit that like button if you're ready, share it with your crew, and subscribe. Because trust me, you won't want to miss how Agnes flips this script. Agnes flipped pancakes in a kitchen 2 weeks from eviction, the sizzle masking the cracks in her world, while Jerry, her husband of 3 desperate years, scrolled his phone, plotting the move that'd gut her by noon. The air smelled of batter and hope, a thin shield against the chaos closing in. She was mid-30s, curvy with a softness she wore like armor, her dark hair yanked into a bun that screamed, "I'm holding it together." Jerry, early 40s, slouched at the table, unshaven, restless, his faded tee stretched tight over a gut he'd sworn to lose. The kitchen was a war zone, pans piled in the sink, a flickering bulb buzzing like a countdown, bills pinned under a chipped mug. They'd sold her mom's ring to pay the last notice, betting everything on Jerry's big talk. Today, she prayed, it'd pay off. "Coffee?" she asked, voice tight but warm, sliding a plate of golden pancakes his way. He grunted, eyes locked on his screen, fingers twitching. She caught a glint. Hunger, maybe? And her gut twisted. Jerry was a dreamer, always chasing the next score, while she'd stretch their last dime into miracles. "He's restless," her inner voice warned, "but he'll come through." She'd staked her heart on it. His phone buzzed, a sharp jolt, and his head snapped up. "Meeting confirmed. Big leagues," he muttered, a grin slicing across his face, too sharp for comfort. He shoved the chair back, linoleum screeching, and grabbed his jacket, her patch job from last month. "This is it, babe," he said, barely glancing her way. "Don't wait up." He bolted, leaving half a pancake in her "good luck" dangling in the stale air. Agnes stood frozen, spatula in hand, the silence swallowing her, her chest clenched, pride warring with dread. This wasn't his first sure thing. The car lot flop, the crypto bust, she'd mopped up every mess. But that grin? It wasn't hope, it was a shark smelling blood. She shook it off, flipping the burner off. "He's got this," she chanted. "We're so close. 2 weeks. That's all they had before the landlord's hammer fell." Days dragged, 3, then 4. No calls, no texts, just a void that grew claws. Her messages stacked up, blue bubbles mocking her. "You okay? Call me. Jerry?" By day 5, panic gnawed her raw. She dialed his buddy Mike, voice trembling. "Where's Jerry?" Mike stalled, then spilled, "Saw him at the Lux downtown. Looking real flashy. New girl, too." The Lux? That swanky joint with $20 drinks and valet boys. She hung up, grabbed her coat, faded denim, her sister's cast-off, and ran. The cab ride blurred, neon streaking past, her pulse a jackhammer. She stumbled out, the Lux looming like a taunt, marble steps gleaming, doormen in crisp suits eyeing her like trash blown in. Her sneakers squeaked on polished floors as she pushed inside. The lobby a fever dream, chandeliers dripping crystals, velvet ropes caging the elite. She scanned the crowd, her thrift store threads screaming outcast. Then she saw him. Jerry stood by the bar, sharp in a suit she'd never seen, tailored, expensive, laughing too loud with a woman who looked carved from a billboard. Linda, late 20s, all legs and cheekbones, draped over him, her red dress a siren's call. A martini dangled from her manicured grip, her smirk pure predator. Agnes's breath snagged, legs locking. Jerry looked Rich, polished. The man she'd begged him to be, just not hers. Jerry! Her voice cracked, a whisper lost in the jazz humming through the room. He turned, eyes widening, caught, then icing over. Linda's smirk sharpened, her arm tightening around him. Agnes pushed forward, legs jelly but stubborn. What the hell? I've been texting you 5 days. We're 2 weeks from losing everything. Where have you been? Linda laughed, brittle and venomous. Oh, sweetie, he traded up. No room for dead weight in the penthouse. She flicked her gaze over Agnes, head to toe, a butcher-sizing meat. Right, babe? Jerry adjusted his cufflinks, new, shiny, not her anniversary gift, and met her eyes flat as stone. It's over, Agnes. Papers are coming. Take the cash and disappear. The air vanished, her chest caving. Cash? She whispered, hands shaking. 3 years. Ramen nights. Pawned rings. I sold my mom's ring for you, you bastard. Her voice broke, rising to a jagged yell. And you're tossing me like garbage? She lunged a step, fury boiling, then froze, his cold stare pinning her. You're holding me back, he snapped, a voice ablade. Look at you, fat, broke, clinging. I'm on my way up. You don't fit. Linda sipped her drink, smirking like it was a show. Agnes's world tilted, his words shredding her. Fat, broke, not enough. She'd poured her soul into him. Every late night, you've got this. Every skipped meal, and this was her pay? I sold my mom's ring, she screamed, tears burning, fists clenched. For us. For you. Her voice cracked, raw and wild, then crumbled to a sob. She sank, knees buckling, the lobby spinning, until a voice sliced through. Agnes? Maple Street Agnes? She jerked up, dazed, and there he was. Sam, mid-30s, lean and magnetic in a suit that whispered power. His dark eyes locked on hers, recognition sparking. Holy shit, it's you! His voice was smooth as whiskey, sharp as a blade, and a valet snapped to attention behind him, keys already in hand. Sam? She croaked, the kid from her block. Scrawny then, now a wall of quiet strength. He clocked Jerry, Linda, the wreckage, his jaw tightening. Screw him, Agnes, he said, low and firm. You're with me now. He offered a hand steady as rock. Jerry snorted, stepping forward. Who's this clown? Linda giggled, but Sam didn't flinch. Just turned, a predator's calm in his stance. Let's go, he said to Agnes, softer, ignoring them. A valet rolled up the Audi, sleek and black, purring like a promise. Agnes hesitated, pride warring with ruin, then grabbed his hand, her grip shaky but sure. Good riddance, Jerry called as they walked out, but Sam's hold drowned it out. The doors slid shut, the jazz fading, and she stepped into the night, gutted but not alone. The Audi's headlights sliced through the night, winding up a hill as the city, and Jerry's smug good riddance faded in the rear view. Agnes slumped in the passenger seat, her faded denim coat a flimsy shield against the chill clawing her bones. Her reflection ghosted in the window. Pale, hollow, a woman gutted. Fat, broke. Not enough hammered her skull. Jerry's sneer a sledgehammer, Linda's laugh a blade. She'd screamed her soul out at the Lux. I sold my mom's ring. And still shattered, the eviction clock ticking louder than her pulse. 2 weeks till the landlord's boot. She clenched her fists, nails biting, the ache hardening into something wild. Rage, maybe, or a flicker she hadn't felt in years. You holding up? Sam's voice broke the quiet, steady but not prying, eyes on the road. He'd yanked her from that glitzy hellhole, a stranger-turned lifeline in hours. No, she snapped, sharper than she meant. I'm a damn train wreck. Happy now? It spilled, rage, shame, a flood, and she winced, but he didn't blink. Train wrecks are my jam, he said, a low chuckle easing the sting. The car slowed, pulling into a gated drive. Irons swinging open to a penthouse perched like a predator's lair. Glass walls glowing against the dark. Agnes's jaw dropped, a hushed, what the hell, slipping out. This wasn't a house. It was a throne for someone who'd fought and won. Sam killed the engine, smirking. Yeah, it's extra. Come on. Inside, the vibe hit hard. Open floors, sleek leather, bookshelves stuffed with spines she'd never touch. But a faded quilt draped over the couch. A kid's photo. Sam kept it real. "Mom's touch," he said, catching her stare, "keeps me from floating off." She nodded, throat tight. Floating? She was drowning. 2 weeks from the street. "I don't fit here," she muttered, arms wrapping around herself like a cage. "I'm a stray in your castle, Sam." "Nah," he shot back, tossing keys on the counter. "You're a queen picking her crown. Give it time." He headed upstairs, beckoning. "Guest room's yours. Crash as long as you need." She trailed him, legs leaden, to a room smelling of lavender and second chances, crisp sheets, a skyline view taunting her ruin. Sam paused at the door. "You're not his trash, Agnes. Sleep on it." He was gone before she could argue, leaving her with a bed too big and a head screaming too loud. Sleep was a pipe dream. She tossed, Jerry's fat, broke, and Linda's smirk clawing her awake. 2 weeks till eviction, no home, no fight. Her outburst at the Lux replayed. A broken record of shame. She'd sold her mom's ring, her last tie to something solid, for a man who'd tossed her like junk. By dawn, she was up, pacing barefoot on hardwood, drawn to the kitchen like a lifeline. Stainless steel gleamed, marble shone, a chef's playground. She needed coffee, something to steady her shaking hands. But a cracked leather journal stopped her cold. The unbreakable blueprint, faded ink on the cover. She flipped it. Recipes, sketches, a quote. "Strength isn't given, it's forged." A photo slipped out. A fierce, slim woman beaming beside a young Sam. His mom, remade. "Caught you snooping," Sam said, leaning in the doorway, grin lazy. Jeans and a black tee swapped his suit. Mogul turned neighbor. "Your mom?" Agnes held the photo, voice softer than she meant. "She looks like a badass." "Was," he said, stepping closer. "Overweight, counted out till she said enough. That book, recipes, workouts, mind tricks, turned her into steel." "You've got that spark, Agnes." Her chest tightened. Not just pain, but a flicker. "I'm not steel, Sam. I'm—" "Not enough," Jerry hissed. She shoved it down. "I'm a wreck with 2 weeks before I'm homeless." "Then start here," he said, firm but simple. "Not for him, not for rent, for you." He grabbed a mug, pouring coffee like they were old pals. "Tea's in the pantry, tastes like hell, but it works." She stared at the journal, then him, the flicker catching. "You think I can pull this off? After that?" Her voice cracked, bare and jagged. "I know it," he said, handing her the mug, steam curling between them. "You've hauled dead weight forever. Time to haul ass." He nodded to the journal. "Start small. Tea's a beast, but you're tougher." She took it, fingers brushing his, warmth seeping in. She flipped to day one. Green tea, shame, a mile I nearly puked through. "Okay," she muttered half to herself. "Let's see." Sam stepped back. Grenadier. No hovering, just faith. Day one was a war zone. Tea like swamp rot. A jog that left her gasping on the curb. A salad instead of fries. She choked on the brew and sobbed, screaming into a pillow. "I'm still trash." The eviction loomed, a guillotine. But she ripped the journal page. Day one survived, and torched it in Sam's sink. "Smoke a jagged screw you to Jerry." "I'm not done," she hissed, tears streaking. Day three. "Less winded," she scribbled, the spark flaring. Sam played wingman, catching her post-run, sweat-soaked, swearing. "Freight train slowing," he'd toss with a water bottle. "Keep up, rich boy," she'd spit back, half laughing. Lungs burning. Their banter sharpened her. He didn't coddle, just nudged. One night she cracked over pizza. Her first cheat. "This is insane, Sam. I'm killing myself over leaves and lunges. 2 weeks and I've got nowhere." He slid her a slice, smirking. "Worth it. You've got a glow, inside and out." She rolled her eyes, cheeks burning. "You're full of it." But his words stuck. Nobody'd seen her like that since Jerry's early lies. "Eviction's still coming," she muttered, deflating. "Then fight harder," he said, leaning in. "You're not just surviving. You're building. Screw the clock." She chewed, his fire catching hers. Weeks blurred. Tea grew bearable. Jeans sagged. Her face sharpened. She'd stumble from runs, Sam tossing quips. Looking like a beast out there. She'd fire back. Beast who's gonna kick your ass? Grinning through the ache. The journal wasn't just diet, it was war. Write what they took. Take it back. She filled pages. Jerry's betrayal, Linda's sneer, the Luck's shame. Then burned them in the fire pit, smoke curling like a middle finger. I'm not his trash, she told the flames, voice steel. Sam, beer in hand, nodded. Never were. Month 2, she was a machine. 5 miles, no puke. A body she owned. She'd catch herself in the mirror, eyes fierce, jaw set, thinking, who's this chick? Not Jerry's doormat. She'd wake laughing at Sam's dumb jokes. Why'd the tomato blush? Saw the salad dressing? Feeling light, eviction be damned. Then he dropped it over eggs. Gala next week. Tech hot shots, champagne. You're in. She froze, fork midair. Me? I'll spill on a billionaire and trip in heels. Her gut flipped. Crowds were poison since the Lux. You'll own it, he said, sliding her a plate. You're not hiding. I need my ace. His grin was sly, eyes dead serious. Emerald dress upstairs. Try it. A dress? You're styling me now? She balked but climbed up, finding silk, green, bold, a dare. She slipped it on, mirror showing a stranger, fierce, sharp, hers. Downstairs, Sam's jaw dropped. Wow, he breathed. You're a knockout. She smirked, masking the flutter. Don't get comfy. I'm still a jeans girl. But she felt it. Power, not just looks. Still got 2 weeks, she said softer. What if I choke? You won't, he said firm. You've already beaten worse. Gala night roared in. Sam in a crisp suit, her in green, heels clicking like gunfire. The venue dazzled. Chandeliers, marble, money thick. A suit muttered, "Who's the knockout with Sam?" Whispers rippled, her mystique swelling. She gripped his arm. Don't let me fall. He squeezed back. Never. They stepped in, heads turning, a buzz rising. She stood tall. I'm who I choose. Then spotted Jerry, frayed in a tight suit. Linda leached to his side. His eyes hit hers, shock slamming him. Agnes, he croaked, stepping free. She tilted her head, smile ablade. Surprised? I'm not the ghost you buried. The gala's buzz dropped to a tense hum as Jerry's choked Agnes sliced through, a spotlight igniting in a sea of glitz and stares. Chandeliers glittered like frozen fireworks. Suits and gowns gawked, every eye darting between her emerald blaze and his crumbling shell. She stood tall, the dress hugging her like a battle flag. Sam's arm a steel anchor at her waist. Whispers from Act 2. Who's the knockout with Sam? Still echoed, her mystique now a roar. Jerry was a wreck. Suit wrinkled like yesterday's news, face carved with panic. Linda latched to his side like a red-dressed parasite. Her lipstick slashed a scowl as she sized Agnes up, unease cracking her smug mask. Surprised? Agnes repeated, her voice a velvet guillotine, cutting deeper than she'd planned. I'm not the ghost you buried, Jerry. You built a castle on quicksand. I'm the one with the shovel now. Her smile was a razor, forged in tea-soaked dawns, burned pages, and 2 weeks dodging eviction. She'd clawed from nothing to this. Queen, not stray. Jerry's jaw twitched, eyes raking her, lingering too long on the woman he'd trashed. You're different, he stammered, sweat beading on his brow. Linda's nails dug into his arm, her hiss sharp. What's that mean? She's just some polished-up nobody. Sam stepped forward, grin a blade's edge. Funny choice of words, Linda. Agnes is my ace, business and beyond. Watch your mouth. His tone landed like a quiet bomb, and Jerry's face drained to a sickly gray. Ace? He croaked, voice pitching. What the hell's that supposed to? Means she's running the show, Sam cut in, cool as ice. That tech contract you're bleeding dry? I greenlit it, and she's been auditing your mess. He nodded to Agnes, a glint in his eye screaming your move. She took it, heels clicking like a countdown on marble. You thought I'd crawl off and die, she said, voice iron. Instead, I cracked your books while you blew cash on her. Your deal's a dumpster fire, Jerry, and I'm holding the match. Linda barked a laugh, shrill, fraying at the edges. Bluffing! You've got nothing! Her eyes darted to Jerry, doubt creeping in like a thief. He didn't answer, just stared at Agnes like she'd grown fangs. How? He whispered almost to himself. You were… nothing? Agnes finished, closing the gap, her breath close enough to taste his panic. Same overpriced cologne from that Lux gut punch. That's what you banked on. But while you partied, I learned the game. Sam taught me the ropes. Now I'm tying yours. Her calm was a weapon, honed over months of sweat and scribbled fire. 2 weeks from eviction to this. She didn't need to yell. Her presence roared. Jerry's hands shook, his bravado cracking like cheap glass. Agnes, this is nuts. You can't tank me over. Over us. His voice climbed, desperate, pleading. Us? She laughed, hollow and fierce, the sound bouncing off the chandeliers. You killed us at the Lux. I sold my mom's ring for you, screamed my guts out, and you called me fat. This isn't revenge, it's receipts. You screwed yourself, Jerry. She stood over him, unshakable, the gala's glitter framing her like a crown. Sam's phone buzzed, his grin widening into something predatory. Oh, Jerry, my PI just dropped a nuke. Buckle up. He handed it to Agnes, who skimmed the screen. Texts, bank transfers, a voice clip. Her eyes flared, then narrowed, a storm brewing behind them. What's this? Jerry demanded, voice cracking high. Linda shifted, her smirk slipping like wet paint. What's he yapping about? Agnes locked eyes with them, holding the phone like a loaded gun. This, she said, slow and lethal, is your real funeral. She tapped play. Linda's voice sneered through, smug as sin. Jerry's my ATM till the next guy. Wired another mill to the Caymans. He's too dumb to catch it. The room froze, a pin-drop silence swallowing the jazz. Linda's face twisted, then hardened into a snarl. Bullshit, she roared, lunging for the phone, claws out. Sam caught her wrist, effortless and frigid. Cool it, he said, voice ice. Cops are a call away. Jerry spun on her, eyes wild, a man imploding. $1 million? My money? You? His voice broke, raw and ragged. I left her for you. And you're a sucker for it, Agnes said, calm as a judge passing sentence. She played you harder than you played me. Siphoned your cash while you strutted. Your castle's ash now. She stepped back, letting the chaos bloom. But here's the twist, Jerry. I'm not torching you. Yet. He gaped, relief clashing with dread in his glassy eyes. You're letting me off? His voice trembled, grasping at straws. No, she said low and final, the dress shimmering like armor. You've got 30 days. Deliver the project. Full specs, no shortcuts, under my watch. Or it's lawsuits, bankruptcy. Game over. Climb or hang. Your call. Her words landed like a gavel, the crowd murmuring, tension thick as smoke. Linda yanked free from Sam, snarling as security closed in. 2 burly suits in black. You're nothing without me, Jerry. You'll crash and beg. Her heels screeched on marble, venom dripping, her red dress flaring like a warning flare. Agnes leaned in, voice a whip crack. He's already begging. Next, Linda thrashed. You can't prove shit. But the suits hauled her out, her curses echoing as she faded into the lobby, a scarlet smear against the glass. Jerry lunged, desperate, snatching at Sam's phone with a wild yell. I'll sue you both. I'll bury you. His foot caught a chair, and he sprawled, face down at Agnes's feet, a pathetic heap of sweat and ruin. The crowd gasped, a ripple of shock spreading. She towered over him, unflinching, heels framing his collapse. Go ahead, she said, voice cold steel. Sue me with what? You're broke. Linda took it all. He froze, hands trembling, then sank into himself, head in hands. A dethroned fool, sprawled in the dirt of his own making. I could have crushed you, she said quietly, almost to herself, her shadow falling over him. But I don't need your blood to stand tall. She turned, Sam at her side, the gala's glitter blurring behind them like a fading dream. The twist had landed. Linda's claws bared, Jerry's rope taut, and her wind was breaking wide open. The Audi peeled out, city lights streaking past, and Agnes exhaled. Shaky, electric, alive. Sam glanced over, one hand on the wheel. You good? She laughed, wild and free, the sound bouncing off the dashboard. Good? I just burned my ex's world down in heels. I'm a damn tsunami. Her grin softened, raw and real. Yeah, I'm good. Better than ever. You rewrote the rules, he said, pride glinting in his eyes. Linda's toast. Cops have her now. Embezzlement, rap sheet a mile long. Jerry's got no moves left. She nodded, the weight lifting like smoke. Linda's arrest was icing. Justice served cold without her lifting a finger. Giving him 30 days? Was that dumb? She asked, chewing her lip. I had him dead to rights. Nah, Sam said, pulling into the penthouse drive. Dumb's crushing him quick. Making him crawl under you? That's checkmate. Pure power. He bypassed the garage, heading up. Rooftop. We're toasting this. Up top, the view punched her gut. Towers twinkling like stars. A breeze tugging at her dress. A table glowed. Wine, cheese. A spread screaming victory over her old ramen nights. Planned this? She teased, eyebrow arched. Bet on you, he said, pouring red, clinking her glass. To the queen who burned her chains and forged a crown. The wine was smooth, rich, a far cry from Jerry's cheap swill. She smirked, sipping. Don't let it stick. I'm still scrappy. But she felt it, crowned by her own hands, not his words. Why mercy? He asked after a beat, swirling his glass. Most would have swung the axe. She stared at the skyline, the question digging deep. Because I'm not him, she said finally. He dumped me when I didn't fit his shiny life. I could have done the same, axed him when he didn't fit mine. But winning's this. She gestured to herself. The view. Him. Building something he can't touch. He's got to live with that. Sam nodded, slow and sure. That's my Agnes. Tough as nails. Heart bigger than she admits. He leaned back, eyes locked on her. You're a hell of a partner. Business, life, whatever's next. Her chest warmed, wine or words she couldn't tell. Partner, huh? Careful, I'll hold you to it. She nudged him, playful but real, and he laughed, easing her last frayed edges. They talked, Maple Street tales, dumb kid dares, then settled into a quiet that felt like home. Days later, Jerry's first report hit her desk, shaky, half-baked. She redlined it. Do better, 28 days. He'd called, voice cracked. Agnes, I'm drowning, help me. She'd cut him off. Swim. No pity, no spite, just cold math. Linda's mugshot splashed the news, cuffed in that red dress, a tabloid wet dream. Jerry's name trashed with it. His empire wobbled, but she didn't flinch. She'd given him rope. His noose was his choice. The wedding sealed it, hers and Sam's, a rooftop vow under that skyline. She wore silver, sharp and fierce. No white gown crap, this was her stepping up. Guests cheered, Sam's I do, a vow she felt in her gut. She caught herself in a glass panel, radiant, hers, and grinned. 2 weeks from eviction to this. Losing Jerry had cracked her open. This was her forge. Dancing slow, Sam whispered, Next play's ours, boss. She grinned against him. Always. The past was ash. Jerry a footnote, Linda a warning. She raised her glass to the city, silver catching the moon, a queen who'd burned her chains and forged a crown. I'm who I choose, she thought, her fire blazing eternal. That was the win. Life doesn't owe you a win. It hands you a shovel and dares you to dig. Agnes learned that the hard way when Jerry dumped her, calling her not enough, while she was 2 weeks from losing everything. She could have stayed broken, let his words define her, but she didn't. She took the hit, burned the shame, and built something bigger than revenge, a life he couldn't touch. The real lesson. It's not about crushing the people who hurt you. It's about outgrowing them. Jerry and Linda got their karma, sure, but Agnes's victory wasn't their downfall. It was her rise. You don't need someone else's blood to feel whole. You need your own fire. So when the world kicks you down, don't just stand up. Forge your crown. That's the game changer. Caleb Dixon's story hits like a freight train, leaving you with more than just a wild tale. It's a raw blueprint for anyone clawing through life's grind. When he tossed his big break to help a stranger in the rain, he wasn't chasing a medal. He was just doing what felt right, even as it cost him his job, 10 years of sweat and nearly his sister Mia's dreams. Proof that doing the good thing can drop you in the dirt, but that dirt's where the real stuff grows. That one move, though, flipped everything. Fired one night, a nobody by dawn, he got a call from Abigail Voss that turned his fall into a kingdom, showing how a single swing can rewrite your story when you least expect it. Jack Russo had the title, the smirk, the throne, but Caleb had the grit, hands that hauled, a spine that wouldn't break. And that's what Voss bet on, not some polished resume, teaching us that real power's forged in the muck where the suits never look. But Caleb didn't just climb out for himself. He carried Mia's future with him, then built ground up to lift every roughneck who'd been stepped on, proving that true wins aren't about hogging the crown. They're about making a table for the overlooked. And even now, running 20 sites, he's still in the fight, fixing what's busted, shaking what's stale, a reminder that every dawn's a new war. You don't coast, you keep swinging, hungry and unbowed. Caleb's story isn't about luck. It's about betting on yourself when the world says you're done. So when the rain hits and the clock's ticking, what's your move? That's the fire this tale leaves burning in your gut. Take it and run with it.